Hello world, welcome to this episode. We're going to cover a LeetCode problem in JavaScript. Today's problem is called Decompress Run Length Encoded List. I'm going to run through the explanation, I'll draw out a solution, and then we'll do the code. So let's take a look at the explanation. What we want to do is, by the way, I'm going to skip the description because I sometimes find it more confusing just by reading it, but I will go through the example and hopefully that would make sense. So what they give us is an array of nums. So in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4. And what they want to do, or what we want to do, is pair these. So the first two is going to be a pair, and we're going to take the first number of the pair, and that's going to be our frequency. So how many times does it appear? And then the second number in the pair, 2, is the value. So in this case, we have one frequency of 2. So we're going to output 2 in our new array. Then we go on to the next pair and we say frequency 3 of 4. So we're going to output 4 3 times into the new array. So our whole new array is going to be 2, 4, 4, 4. All right, hopefully that makes sense. We'll run through one more just as an example. So 1 and 1. 1 occurs once, so we'll output 1. And then in the next pair, 3 occurs twice, so it will be 1, 3, 3. That is a simple version. So how are we going to solve that? Well, let's take a look at it. We're going to create a new variable called result, and we're going to set that to an empty array. All right, then what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to loop through this nums array here. So we'll do that by a for loop. So for, and we're going to start with 0. We're going to go the length of the array, and then we're going to increment by 2. And we're increment by 2 is because we're doing in pairs. So these two, then these two. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to do start with 0, and we'll do this code out, but then I'm just kind of drafting it. I is less than nums, the length, and then we will iterate I every 2. Okay, so that's our for loop. Then what we're going to do is we need to store the first variable and the second variable of each pair. So we're going to create 2 more variables, const frequency and const the value. So we've created those two variables. Now what we need to do is add those to this results array. So how do we do that? Well, what we're going to do is, instead of it like a concatenate, we're going to do a push. So we'll do the result, and we'll do a push, and then we're going to take a new array, and we're going to take the value of frequency. Can't write today. And we're also going to take the value, input the value. And then when we're all done with this for loop, we're going to return result. So that's kind of what it looks like. Let's go ahead and code the solution. So let's start with our variable const of an empty array. We'll call it results. Then we'll do our for loop. So for, and we'll start with I is equal to 0 and I is less than nums dot length of the array. And then we'll do I, and we're going to increment every 2 characters. Okay, so now let's do our 2 variables. So const frequency, and we want that to be the first number of the array. So remember, we have first I, and then we have I plus 1. That will be the 2 numbers of the pair. So we'll do nums at position I, and then the next one will be value nums at position I plus 1. Okay, now let's go ahead and add that. So result dot push, we're going to push it to the array. We'll use the spread operator so that it doesn't create a new array within an array. It will append it to the original array. And so we'll say new array. And then we're going to take the frequency of the array, and we're going to fill in the value. So we're going to take the, we're going to take the frequency and fill in the value into a new array. The spread operator will keep it within the same, with the same array and push it to the result. And then last thing we want to do here is return type results, and go ahead and run this. And that is the result. All right, hopefully this was clear enough to make sense and help you in your problem-solving journey.